Hi, I'm Traveling John, and I'm going to travel and sketch. Join me on the adventure. We have had some great travel and sketch adventures in Europe. We started off with Copenhagen, then we moved on to Leiden, which is very close to Amsterdam in the Netherlands, on to Paris, France, and now we're in the beautiful city of Barcelona that borders the Mediterranean Sea. Yesterday we were at the Sagrada Familia, and today we're going to see some other work by Gaudi. This is a garden where he designed estates and homes. Now it's a park of the public, and of course they were upper end estates, and we're going to see some of those estates and see some of the wonderful architecture and design of Gaudi today. I hope you enjoyed that vignette of photographs I took at Park Guell. And before I go on, talking more about what I'm going to do for the sketch, I'd like to explain to you a little bit about the history of that park. Back in 1885, Antoni Gaudi, an industrialist in Barcelona and a patron of Gaudi, went to him and asked him to design a garden city. And in that city was to be included 60 villas. And they tried to get it going. They did some beautiful buildings, as I've seen in my vignette of photographs, but it just didn't take off. In fact, in the end, there was only 2 out of the 60 villas that were actually built. And to this day, those are the only 2 that are, of course, standing. Now, the park is still beautiful, and it has been taken over by the city. In fact, it was actually taken over in 1929, so it's been a park for quite a while. It's one of the most popular parks in Barcelona, and of course you can see why. It has a gorgeous art and creativity of Gaudi there. And the one thing I was really impressed about that Gaudi was doing with those buildings is so much tile work, so much color tile work everywhere. And the little symbol of the friendly lizard is a good example of that, just covered in beautiful, gorgeous tiles. So anyway, I'd like to, first of all, share with you what I decided to do as a composition. Here's a photograph of what I decided to do, and this is a distant picture, and I'm going to crop up closer to it so you can see the actual part I'm using. And I liked those two buildings very much. The creative work that was developed in those really is the theme of the park, and I believe what Gaudi envisioned for the rest of the park, using the tiles and using the creative curves. So that's what I decided to do a sketch on. So that's the next step in this vlog. Like every other video I've done when I'm sketching, I speed it up so that I can cover a lot in a small amount of time. And I started out with doing a light ink-line sketch as referenced from the photograph, and now I'm putting the detail in. I'm emphasizing the fanning out of those beautiful oak trees, and I'm curving them to go in towards that building on the center of the illustration. That center building is called La Casa Trias. The one on the right with the tall steeple is the Casa del Guard. So these are buildings, of course, that served a function as the community was started. And I believe it was the entry to this, which was going to house 60 different estates at one time, but ended up only having 2. What a beautiful entry though, and magnificent public buildings to start with. So after I've done those oak trees, I'm really going to put a heavy dark emphasis on the brush and smaller trees that surround those oak trees. And that way it will not only help the oak trees stand out, but it will also help the buildings stand out that I'm going to be illustrating in more detail as we go into this sketch. And of course, all of this is being inspired not only from being there at the park, but also the photograph I took while I was there. And I'm just emphasizing those things that really draw out the character of this beautiful park and this beautiful place. Even the little park bench there that's a little bit curved, but that's going with the curve of the path that's going down to the left of this small hill. Now I'm going to start working on the center piece of building, which again is La Casa Trias, and I'm going to start with doing a very ink broken line going around it, giving it character and weight. And then I'm going to start at the top, and again, that's the detail that reminds me of a pine cone. Putting detail in, all the beautiful tile work that's on this building gives it a great color. I'll be showing more of that in the next vlog when I start doing the color illustration of this. All that little detail is all tile, as you probably noticed in the photographs I took. And the roof, its curvatures, and the way it is just sort of is rounded at the edge and the eaves as it goes towards the walls of the building. Very interesting, and it gives it, again, a very organic feeling. Gaudi liked to use the cross on many of the buildings. I'm not sure if it was for religious reasons or if it was simply a design element that he really liked. On the steeple to the right, I'm not even sure if that was for religious reasons, but it may have been. Gaudi was a deeply religious man, so having the Christian cross up there could be a part of his inspiration. The walls of the building itself, is very interesting. They did not have a tile on the actual wall. It was all stonework. It seemed to be stone that was right from that area, very dark brown, not painted, just stonework. And if you notice in some of the photographs I took earlier in the vignette, some of the photographs were taken of it almost seemed like caverns or walkways that were right below garden areas, and it had the same stone effect there on the buildings as in those walkways that almost looked like they were trees holding up the roof over the walkway, or even the roots of the trees from above coming down on the walkway. It was very interesting effect. And again, it was just meant to blend with the nature. As you can see, I'm grabbing a little snack as I'm doing the illustration. I didn't actually mean that to be in the picture, but there it is. Enjoying a little fuel during my work. So I'm just about done doing the detail work on this building, and then I'm going to go over to the next one. Starting again at the top with the cross. Gaudi's dad was into ironwork, so he did use iron in a very organic way again in lots of his buildings. And just below the cross, there's some twisted ironwork there holding the cross and that upper portion of the building up. It's very, very nice. Right up in there. In that area, that's twisted iron. Again, this tower or spire has sort of like this twist to it, spiral effect coming down. It's really very beautiful. I want to call it pine cone at the top again. And all the roofs on these buildings again have tile work, all tile, to give it that color and design. They're like pieces of sculpture. Amazing. Of course, any true architect would say that their piece of design is a work of sculpture, and I would agree with that. But this is, wow, this is extremely creative and colorful and full of wonderful detail. Cannot get bored. These trees were just really comfortably surrounding these buildings, and it was great because I used that to bring the whole thing together. It's almost like a wonderful piece of material being drawn around one building and then passing over to the other. It brings them together. And of course, when I took this picture, we were sort of up on a little hill looking down at these buildings. So you cannot see the court where there's a lot of people standing right now. Now I'm putting in the plants up front. I'm in this sketch, the lavender is at the bottom. I'm putting in the flowers now. It again was served as a really very convenient framing of the bottom of this inclined sketch. Putting in the little flowers above the leaves. And like I've done in other sketches, as I finish this up for the video, I'll probably work on more detail afterwards, and then I'll show it to you in front of the camera after I'm done with that. So that finishes the artwork I've done in terms of the sketch for Park Guell. And as I mentioned before, I concentrated on these two buildings that are at the entryway to Park Guell. And I de-emphasized any of the modern architecture that may have been behind these buildings, because I really think it sort of distracts from the creativity and the spontaneity and the curves of this work of Gaudi's. So it's very beautiful in color, and I'm going to emphasize that, of course, when I get into the color sketch, which is in the next vlog. And you'll see the color in the flowers and the lavender that's down here. Beautiful purple color at that time of the year. Unfortunately, but fortunately in some regards, there wasn't a lot of leaves on the oak trees. So it didn't hide the building as much as it could have from this vantage point. In fact, you may have noticed I took out some of the branches that went over the building so you could see and appreciate the architecture of the building as it is. And of course, as it probably was at one point before those trees were there. And if you're interested in obtaining a sketch or a reprint of this on archival paper, I would encourage you to first of all go to my website and there you'll see a quick entryway to Etsy, where my store is, and be able to either acquire the original, which I just showed you, or some prints of that. So thanks again for watching this vlog, and of course I would encourage you again to subscribe to this vlog, because in the future I will be doing more, I hope, and you'll be notified when those are up. And of course, there's no charge for subscribing, and it's just free, and it just makes it easier for you to know what I'm doing with my work and when I'm publishing it as a vlog on the internet. So have a great day, and thanks again for joining me.